Good Wednesday morning, and thank you for joining us on Kare 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get right to your headlines. Developing this morning, in just hours, 14 of the 15 people accused of interfering with ICE agents during Operation Metro Surge will head to federal court for the first time. Federal officials say the defendants are all part of the left-wing group Antifa. Audrey Russo has more from the federal courthouse.
Good morning. Yeah, these defendants are going to have a group of protesters demonstrating on their behalf in front of the courthouse starting at noon today. Now, all eyes are going to be on this demonstration, mainly because of what happened the last time this case made its way to court. When the charges were first announced last month, demonstrators ended up getting sprayed with chemical irritant outside of the courthouse. As for the 14 defendants, they're accused of interfering with ICE operations, charged with conspiracy to impede federal agents. Some face additional stalking and assault charges. Back in June, federal prosecutors accused the defendants of being part of Antifa, but failed to give a concise definition of Antifa when asked. Now, the 15th suspect in this case, Kyle Wagner, he is not on the docket today. He was arrested back in February. Back to you.
Audrey, thank you. Right now, I-94 is reopened in Minneapolis after a deadly crash. The investigation shutting things down for several hours overnight. Authorities say the crash happened just after 3 a.m. when officials responded to a report of a person stuck on westbound I-94. It's still unclear how the person ended up on the highway. But take a look at this video. It appears to show a person falling or leaving the vehicle shortly after a car driving behind appears to hit that individual. The State Patrol confirmed that the person was killed in the incident. At this time, authorities have not released any details on what might have led up to the incident, but we'll keep you updated as we learn more. Right now, oil prices logging their biggest quarterly drop since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Brent crude oil fell about 43% between April and June, ending the quarter just under $73 a barrel. It follows an interim peace deal between the U.S. and Iran as more ships are passing through the Strait of Hormuz, bringing the global crude oil prices down. Experts say that higher production and softer demand and the release of strategic oil reserves also helped ease supply concerns. Here's a live look from our nation's capital just 24 hours after the Supreme Court delivered two major rulings that will affect hundreds of thousands of Americans. First, the Supreme Court rejected President Trump's attempt to restrict citizenship for children born on U.S. soil. Then, in one of the biggest cases, the court ruled states can exclude transgender athletes from women's and girls' teams. NBC's Alice Barr has the very latest.
This morning, the impact of two major Supreme Court rulings is echoing across the country. The 6-3 decision upholding birthright citizenship, bringing relief for the families of more than 250,000 babies born in the U.S. every year to parents who are undocumented immigrants or non-citizens.
This is our home. We belong here.
The Northwest Immigrant Rights Project filed one of the first lawsuits challenging President Trump's executive order that sought to limit birthright citizenship, which the High Court found is firmly rooted in the Constitution's 14th Amendment, the Chief Justice writing they would keep that promise.
Relieved now that they don't have this uncertainty, that they're not forced with this idea of family separation.
The Trump administration is slamming the ruling that the president called too bad for our country.
We have to be even more aware of who's coming into our country to make sure that they're not benefiting from this atrocious Supreme Court ruling.
Republican leadership promised to take up the fight.
I think it subjects the country to serious challenges going forward, and we'll have to deal with it as a Congress.
But that would require a constitutional amendment, highly unlikely in a deeply divided Congress. The justices, though, did hand conservatives a win on the contentious issue of transgender athletes, siding with two states that bar them from competing on girls' and women's teams in school and college sports, likely reinforcing similar bans in 25 other states. Supporters celebrating.
This is fairness, this is safety, this is justice.
While advocates called it a devastating push to sideline transgender rights. That ruling does not force the hand of 23 states that allow transgender athletes in girls' sports. While in a separate decision, the court's conservative majority sided with Republican challengers, striking down long-standing limits on how much money a national political party committee can spend in coordination with individual candidates, finding the restrictions violated free speech rights. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Developing right now, scientists sounding the alarm over unusually high global ocean temperatures. According to new data, global sea surface temperatures hit a new June record on June 21st, surpassing levels for the same time of the year in 2023 and 2024. The average reached 69.5 degrees. And scientists say with current ocean temperatures and El Nino on the horizon, we're likely to see even more records fall. This comes as a major heat dome is gripping much of the country this week, with half of Americans expected to face blazing temperatures ahead of the July 4th weekend. While you were sleeping, several new laws went into effect across Minnesota. Here's Lauren Lemanchek.
Here are 5 new laws taking effect in Minnesota on July 1st. 1. Social media warnings. Social media platforms in Minnesota must display a mental health warning every time users open the app. It has to include information about potential mental health risks and resources. 2. Expanded mental health for kids. Effective July 1st, a new grant program will offer expanded mental health care to children ages 5 or younger. 3. All Minnesota school districts must adopt an anonymous threat reporting system to allow students and staff to report potential threats or dangers through an app, a website, or hotline. 4. Mandatory teacher reporting. Law enforcement will now be required to notify a licensing board when a teacher is criminally charged with something that will automatically trigger a license denial. And 5, domestic violence victims will have a new way to protect their homes. The law allows some survivors to ask a judge to remove an abusive partner from the home's purchase agreement.
Now we have more on these laws and others right now on Kare11.com. New restrictions are in place in Minnesota this morning for dogs and cats entering the state from areas with active New World screwworm cases. The Minnesota Board of Animal Health says animals from active infestation sites will not be allowed in the state unless they're checked by a vet and are quarantined for 5 days. New World screwworm is a species of parasitic fly that feeds on the flesh of warm-blooded animals and humans. So far, there have only been cases in Texas and New Mexico, with a vast majority being in cattle. Starting today, Medicare will now cover weight loss drugs. The temporary pilot program allows enrollees to get them for $50 a month. Many doctors and patient advocates support the new program. Technically, the law prohibits Medicare from covering weight loss medications, but short-term pilot projects are allowed. Well, if you're throwing a barbecue to celebrate America's birthday, new data shows it's going to cost you more this year. Let's break down the numbers for you. The American Farm Bureau Federation says a cookout for 10 people will cost just under $74. That's up 4% from last year. Beef prices are up 5.5%, while burger buns are up 18 cents from last year. Experts say it's because of higher production and transportation costs. As for your sides, strawberry prices are up more than 12%, and a half gallon of ice cream will also cost you 5% more this year. And this weekend, thousands of Minnesotans are heading to the lakes and rivers to celebrate the 4th of July. And this morning, law enforcement is reminding you to be smart. They say you really just shouldn't drink on the water at all. The penalties for drinking and driving a boat are the same as when you drink and drive a car. They will be watching to make sure everyone stays safe out there this weekend.
It's just a perfect combination of factors. When there's good weather, the lakes are warm and ready, and it's a holiday weekend for those three to mix. And that's okay as long as people are doing it responsibly and safely. If you are over the legal limit on the water, you will be arrested. It's the same punishments and the same process as being arrested on the road in a passenger vehicle. So.
Now, every agency that we spoke with says there will be extra patrols on hand for the holiday weekend. A new immersive experience is popping up at the Mall of America. The mall will soon host a Bubble Planet, which features themed bubble rooms, giant bubbles, growing LED rooms, and virtual reality experiences. The mall says it's designed for all ages and has many different hands-on activities. It's expected to open up this August. Turning now to the FIFA World Cup. We're just hours out from the U.S. taking on Bosnia in the World Cup knockout round. Team USA is coming off their first loss in this year's tournament, which did not impact their standings. But from here on out, it is win or go home. Tonight's match against Bosnia starts at 7. You can catch all the action at the Minnesota United watch party over on PV Plaza. Tickets are free, but they're on a first-come, first-serve basis. Go USA. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up right after the break.